what you need to know before you start, there's your budget, your timeline, your audience, and your goal. Those are all very important for you to understand and make sure your marketing is effective because the budget could drastically change all of the others because you might have a very ambitious goal, but a good reach goal, something that's going to push you. But then when you see what your budget is, it's like, that's just too much. You're not going to be able to use that money effectively to try and go after that big goal. So it really can be a determining factor about what you can and can't do.
Well, right. The conditional questions or the Venn diagram starts getting more complicated. It's not only is this intended audience likely to help me achieve this goal? Now it's, will these people help me achieve this goal given the time and money I have? Which the answer sometimes might be no, in which case set a more humble goal, I suppose.
And timeline's important as well because we see our artists so often, and it'd be Thursday afternoon. Can you get my song live by tomorrow morning? I'm like, uh, I probably could, but I'm not going to. Um, but
You're enabling
even
bad habits if you did.
yeah, that's part of the problem. But the other thing is that person could have tons of money to spend to promote that release, but the timeline's too short. And the opposite can be true that you have this long timeline. Hey, I just want to have these ads running for a month, but I've only got 20 bucks. Well, 20 bucks is not enough to really do anything over a month span of time. So the timeline and budget, it's kind of these things that as they move, they can impact what you can and can't do effectively.
I've heard you describe these four things: budget, timeline, audiences, and goals, like faders on a mixing board, where, like, if anyone's ever mixed their own music in front of a board, oh, I think the drums need to kick a little more. So you like turn them up or you tweak the EQ on the drums, and suddenly you're like, ooh, that's cool. But now suddenly something else is off balance. So you have to turn that up or down accordingly. So it's like any adjustment to one affects the whole, and then you have to constantly adjust. And if you only have $100, then maybe trying to reach 10,000 people is not correct. And maybe instead you say, okay, I think I can only reach 1,000 people or whatever, 500 people for that $100. Or if you've got a year, great, then your budget can be adjusted. You don't have to drop $20,000 in a week. You can stretch your goal over a long time,
Yeah.
or stretch your budget rather. So yeah, I like that metaphor of kind of mixing music.
Yeah. And I think oftentimes when I talk to artists and they're frustrated about the results they're getting from their music marketing, oftentimes some of these are really, really out of whack and their expectations are out of whack. Because, let's be honest, when it comes to marketing, we could do a lot of great things, get a lot of people motivated, and they may still not have heard the music. The music should be good when they finally get to it, but you can be a successful marketer and get people to music that's mediocre. Then the music has to stand up, and whether or not they stick around and become fans and follow you, that's a whole nother story. But
And then all you're doing as a good marketer is conditioning people to feel betrayed and less trusting of the next marketing campaign they encounter.
hey, it's all subjective. So who am I to say?
Yeah. Well, one other thing I wanted to say about considering the four different things: budget, timeline, audience, and goals. Um, it helps if you have a pretty clear idea of what is realistic, but you don't need to have all the answers. And I think it's perfectly fine to consult other bands or other artists or marketing consultants, anyone in the industry who might have more expertise than you, and say, does this sound realistic? Does this sound worth doing? What should I tweak before I even launch the thing? That's fine. The other thing you can do is launch a marketing campaign and just see what happens. Like, you don't want to blow your whole budget on something that fails, but it's okay to allocate a little bit of your budget to testing, see how it goes. If it works, great, put more fuel in the fire, and if not, you can tweak from there. So I don't want to make it sound like everyone has to have all the answers before they start.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that should be a part of the mix. Like save some money to just test ideas, test something wacky. When we have limited budgets, we're always trying to play it safe. At least that becomes the tendency. Make sure you get the most out of it. So I'm going to play it safe. But sometimes some wacky, crazy idea is going to be the one that works. And so you want to leave some money to test that.
Especially if that wacky idea feels very true to you. If that's like something that's very in line with your music, your aesthetic, whatever, like that's gonna perform better probably than the safe play because it's true.